In a world where magic is everything, being born without it is a fate worse than death. In the kingdom of Ardelis, every child's worth is measured on their 10th birthday, the day they awaken their magic. Fire, water, wind, lightning. Even the subtle arts of healing or illusion, power dictates your status, and status dictates whether you live or die. And if you have no power, you're simply nothing. Ren Valen was the only student in the history of Aetherion Academy whose awakening crystal never reacted. Not a single spark, not even a faint glimmer. Total, absolute nothingness. On the day of his final evaluation, the Grand Hall fell silent as he placed his hand on the crystal sphere. Anxious students watched. Smirking nobles looked down from the balconies. 5 seconds passed, then 10. Then the crystal, which should have blazed with light, dimmed completely. A single whisper cut through the silence, Manalis. Then came the laughter. From that day on, Ren was no longer called by his name. He was just zero. Aetherion Academy was the most prestigious magic institution in the kingdom. A place for elites, for nobles with powerful bloodlines, for prodigies who could conjure storms with a thought. Ren didn't belong. He was a stain on their perfect record. But he refused to leave. Every morning, while others practiced controlling the elements, Ren pushed his body to its limits. Sword forms until his arms ached. Endurance drills until his lungs burned. Hours spent in deep meditation. Because even though the crystal showed nothing, he felt something. Not a power he could wield, but a quiet presence deep inside him, watching, waiting. Most students simply ignored him. Others took pleasure in bullying him. But the worst of them all was Kael Draven, the Academy's top student, a lightning prodigy born from a line of royal commanders. He was arrogant, powerful, and completely untouchable. One afternoon, the Academy announced the mandatory ranking duels. Students would fight in the public arena to determine their combat class. The pairings went up on the board, and a wave of shock, then cruel amusement spread through the crowd. Ren Valen's name was listed. His opponent? Kael Draven. The entire Academy gathered in the arena. Some were excited for the spectacle. Most just came to witness a massacre. Kael strode into the arena to a roar of cheers, lightning crackling playfully around his fingertips as if it were a part of him. Then Ren walked in. Alone. No cheers greeted him. No one held any expectations. There was only a cold, heavy silence. The match began. Kael didn't even bother with a warm-up, raised his hand, and a bolt of lightning so bright it split the air in two shot directly toward Ren. The arena itself trembled from the sheer force of the attack. Everyone thought it was over in an instant. But Ren didn't move. He didn't try to dodge. He didn't raise a shield. The lightning struck him head-on. A blinding explosion of light and sound engulfed him, and smoke billowed across the battlefield. Gasps of shock echoed from the stands. But when the smoke cleared, Ren was still standing. There were no burns on his clothes, no injuries on his body. The lightning was simply gone, not deflected, not blocked. It had vanished into thin air. The atmosphere in the arena felt different now, heavy, suffocating, and for the first time in his life, something inside Ren answered. A faint glow emerged from his chest. It wasn't the red of fire, the blue of water, or the gold of light. It was black. A deep abyssal black that spread through his veins like ink dropped in water. The Academy's powerful magic detection barriers flickered violently, struggling to comprehend what they were seeing. The instructors froze, their faces pale, and one of them whispered a word that hadn't been spoken in centuries. Void. Kael, his confidence replaced by pure anger, attacked again. This time a storm of lightning strikes rained down from the sky, but as they neared Ren, they dissolved. They didn't just fizzle out. They were erased from existence. Ren stared at his own hands, confused. He wasn't casting anything, didn't even know how. And then he heard a voice. Not from the crowd, but from inside his own mind. "You are not empty," it said. "You are sealed." Memories that weren't his own flashed before his eyes. A chaotic battlefield under a darkened sky. A king cloaked in shadow. Magic itself bending, collapsing, unraveling. He saw the Void King, a forbidden entity from ancient history who once threatened to consume the entire continent. Long ago, the kingdom's greatest heroes defeated him, but they couldn't destroy his core. So, They did the only thing they could. They sealed it. Inside a newborn, monolith child. Inside Ren. The reason his awakening showed nothing is because his power wasn't elemental. It was absolute. Void magic doesn't create. It consumes. It erases magic at its very source. The crystal couldn't measure his power because his power nullified the very act of measurement. The headmaster shot to his feet and immediately ended the duel. It's not because Ren had lost, but because he finally understood the terrifying truth. Within hours, the news reached the Royal Council. They didn't see a student who had discovered a new power. They saw a threat, sealed catastrophe just waiting to happen. An order was issued that very night: secure the vessel, and if resistance occurs, eliminate him. Ren sat alone in his dorm room, staring at his trembling hands. His entire life, his entire identity, had been shattered in a single day. He wasn't weak. He was a prison. And now, the prison was breaking. He heard footsteps in the hall, heavy, rhythmic, not students. Knights, elite royal mages, were surrounding the academy under the cover of darkness. But before they could reach his door, there was a sharp knock. Ren opened it to find Kale, the same boy who had humiliated him for years. But the arrogance was gone. In its place was a tense seriousness. "They're not here to protect you," Kale said, his voice low. "They're here because they're afraid of you." Ren was stunned. "Why are you helping me?" he asked. Kale looked away, a flicker of conflict in his eyes. "Because if they fear you, it means you're stronger than all of us. I'd rather fight beside that kind of strength than bow to their fear." Suddenly, the academy alarms blared to life. The knights began their assault. Explosions shook the walls as spells of fire and ice lit up the night sky. Students screamed and ran in panic. Instructors tried to mount a defense but were quickly overwhelmed by the royal forces. Ren stepped outside into the chaos. Magic was flying everywhere, destructive, unstoppable. For the first time, he made a choice. Not to run, but to stand his ground. A knight launched a massive fireball toward a group of fleeing students. Acting on pure instinct, Ren stepped in front of them. The black energy surged from him, no longer a faint glow, but a palpable aura. The fireball vanished in midair, silenced. The stunned knight tried to cast another spell. Nothing happened. His magic circle faded before it could even form. Panic began to spread through the royal forces. Ren wasn't attacking them, he was canceling them. Every spell cast within his presence unraveled. Magic itself seemed to bend away from him, refusing to exist in his vicinity. The battlefield grew quiet. A terrifying, unnatural quiet. Even Kale stared in disbelief. Ren felt the presence inside him again, but this time it wasn't a separate, overwhelming force. It felt calm, controlled. The void wasn't trying to take over. It was responding to his will. For the first time in his life, he wasn't powerless. He wasn't zero. He was the counter to everything. The commander of the knights, his face twisted with fury, strode forward. His enchanted armor glowed with immense power. "You are a danger to this kingdom," he declared. Ren finally understood. The kingdom never feared destruction. They feared losing control, and someone who could erase magic itself could never be controlled. The commander charged, his enchanted blade held high. Ren simply raised his hand. The armor's brilliant glow vanished. Cracks spiderwebbed across its surface as the magic sustaining it disappeared. The commander collapsed to his knees, utterly powerless. A profound silence fell over the academy grounds. The students stared at Ren not with mockery, not with pity, but with a deep, unsettling awe. The boy who had nothing was the only one who could stop everything. As dawn approached, the remaining knights retreated. They had realized a terrifying truth. If Ren ever decided to become their enemy, there would be no spell in the world strong enough to stop him. Ren looked at the rising sun, the damaged academy behind him. He didn't feel like a hero. He didn't feel like a villain. For the first time, he just felt awake. The weakest student in the kingdom was never weak. He was just sealed. And now that the seal was broken, the entire world would have to make a choice. Do you fear the one who can destroy magic? Or do you fear the ones who use magic to control you? This was only the beginning.